What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your battery power 60 power wash light. They come in two colors of black and white, but the setup for each is the exact same. So as you can see, it comes with the light itself, a mounting bracket along with the hardware, a wireless remote, and a power cable to charge the light. Now there's plenty of ways we can place our light with or without the mounting bracket. One of the ways we can place the light without the mounting bracket is with your totem stand. So this works best with a white scrim attached to give it that illuminated effect with the light. So to do that, all you're going to do is lift up the scrim from the bottom of the stand, place the light right inside, and bring the scrim back down. From there we can use any of the colors or the modes to illuminate the stand. Another way we can use the light without the mounting bracket is for wall washing. So for this setup, you're just going to take the light and place it right up against the wall, and that way the light is shining directly upwards to light up your wall. Another way you can do this is by attaching the mounting bracket, placing the light away from your wall, and angle the light using the bracket so that the light is hitting the wall the way you want. So let's talk about how to attach the bracket to the light. To do that, I'm going to take the mounting hardware here and the bracket itself. I'm going to take a screw and a washer here and feed the washer through the screw. I'm going to take another screw and washer and do the exact same thing. Then I'm going to run the screws through the holes here on the side of the bracket, place another washer on the other end of the screws, and now I'm going to take my bracket with the screws attached and line it up to the screw holes on the sides of the light, and then just tighten the knobs to secure the bracket. So like I mentioned, with the bracket attached, we can now angle our light into different positions. And again, this is great for wall washing because I can place the light away from my wall and use the bracket to angle my light in any direction so that it's hitting the wall the way I want. You could also just move the bracket out of the way if you want to use the rubber feet on the bottom and place it on the floor like that and have the light shining upwards. You can also use these placements when lighting up a DJ facade. The mounting bracket also comes in handy if we want to mount our light to a truss. So to do that, I'm going to need a lighting clamp here like our very own LC70. I'm going to take out this bolt here on the clamp. Then I'm going to take the bolt and line it through both of the holes here on the bracket. Then I'm going to take my clamp again and screw it onto the bolt. Now you may also need to pinch the arms of the bracket here so that the bolt is coming through both holes. So after we've attached the clamp, we're just going to loosen this butterfly screw here. Then we can take our light and line the clamp up to a spot on our truss, and then tighten the butterfly screw to secure the light onto the truss. Now any of these placements are really great to use with the light, but feel free to experiment with different placements for whatever suits your setup best. So now let's go through all of the features available on the light. So we've got, of course, the power button here on the back so we can turn the light on. Above you'll see this battery indicator here, so as you can see it's fully charged right now, but as it gets closer to this red dot here, that's when you'll know to charge your light with the included power cable. So you'll just take the female end of that cable and plug it into this power in socket here. And what's really cool is that if you have multiple lights and want to charge them or power them all at once, you can use the power out socket here to electrically daisy chain your lights together. We also got the DMX in and the DMX out to use our lights with a DMX controller for the master slave feature, etc. We also got all of these buttons here underneath the LED display. So we got the mode button here to switch between the different modes on our light. We also got the up and down buttons to cycle through each setting for each mode. Lastly, we have the enter button to enter a mode or save any changes for any of these modes. And what's also really cool is that the light will remember the last save you made. So as soon as you turn the light off and back on, it's going to go back to the mode that you saved just before. So now let's go through all the different modes available on our light. So first up, we have the DMX address mode, which is displayed through this A setting here. From here, we can use the up and down buttons to switch the DMX address, and then we can press enter to save the change. Next, we have the DMX channel mode here, where we can set our light either to 6-channel DMX mode or 10-channel DMX mode. And to do that, you're going to press the enter button, then use the up or down buttons to switch between 6-channel or 10-channel, and press enter to save the change. Next up, we have the color change mode, where we can cycle through all of the different colors available with the up and down buttons. And then as soon as we land on a color that we want, we can press enter, and then it'll set the light to that color. Next, we have the color cycle mode, where the light will automatically switch between each color. We can use the up and down buttons here to change the color cycle speed. So the higher we have this setting, the faster the colors will cycle, and then the lower we have this setting, the slower the colors will cycle. Next, we have the color pulse mode where the light will pulse between each color. And again, we can use the up and down buttons to change the speed for this mode. So again, the higher we have this setting, the faster the color pulse. And then the lower we have this setting, the slower the color pulse. Next, we have the color fade mode where the light fades between each color. Again, we can adjust the speed of the color fade with the up and down buttons. We also have a strobe mode where the light will strobe to a certain color that we set. And to set that color, all you're gonna do is press enter on this mode. Then you're going to use the up and down buttons to select any of the colors. And once you find a color that you want the light to strobe to, you're going to press enter again to save it. After that, it'll bring us back to the strobe menu where we can use the up and down buttons to set the speed of the strobe. Next, we have the sound mode, and we can actually pick between 4 different sound modes by using the up and down buttons to cycle through each one. And then we can press enter to save the change. So the first one here is the color change mode. So as I start to clap, you'll see that the colors will change with each sound. Next, we have the sound fade mode where the colors will fade with each sound. The next one is a color change plus strobe. So as I clap, you'll see that the lights are changing color and strobing. And the last one is all of these modes put together as the light cycles through each mode as it picks up sound. Next, we have the IR mode here where we can control the communication between the remote and the light itself. So I can press enter on this mode and switch it on or off using the up and down buttons. So if I don't want the light to work with the remote, I'm just gonna press off. And if I want to switch that, I'm gonna press enter, use the up or down buttons to go to on, and press enter to save. So if you find that your remote isn't working with your light, you might want to cycle down to this mode and make sure that it's set to on. We can also set our lights to a custom color because we have a mode for the red, green, blue, white, amber, and ultraviolet LEDs. So to make a custom color, I can start with the red LED mode here and use the up and down buttons to determine how much red I want to come through. Then I can press enter to save it. Then I can move on to green and do the exact same thing and set how much green I want to come through, and so on and so forth for the blue, white, amber, or ultraviolet LEDs. Now we can also control our lights with a DMX controller, which is great to use for live performances, show productions, etc. So to connect my controller to my light, I'm gonna need some DMX cables here. I'm gonna take the male end and plug it into the DMX out on my controller. Then I'm gonna plug the other end into the DMX in port on my first light. Now to connect my first light to the second light, I'm gonna need another DMX cable. Plug the male end into the DMX out on my first light, then plug the other end into the DMX in on the second light. If you want to set up more lights in your chain, you're just going to repeat this process all the way down. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn on my controller. So next we're going to want to make sure that our lights are set to the same DMX address and the same DMX mode. So now to set the DMX address, I'm going to go to the DMX address mode, which is the A display here. Then I can use the up and down buttons to set the address, then press enter to save our changes. And for today, we're using A001. And I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other lights in my chain. Now on these lights, we're able to set the DMX channel mode to either 6 channel or 10 channel mode. This just means we have 2 different ways we can use our controller with our lights. So the only difference between the two is that the 6 channel mode allows us to use 6 of the faders of our controller to change the color of our lights, and the 10 channel mode allows us to set the color, mode, and speed for the modes. So whether you set this to 6 channel or 10 channel mode all depends on the control you want to have over your lights with your controller. For today, we're going to set the lights to the 10 channel mode so we have the most control over our lights with our controller. So to do that, I'm going to press the mode button until we get to the channel display here. I'm going to press enter so I can change this setting and use the up or down buttons to switch between 6 channel or 10 channel mode. And like I said, we're going to be using 10 channel mode, so then I'm going to press enter once we get there. And again, I'll want to do the same exact thing for my next light. So now that the lights are all set, I'm going to go to my controller and activate scanner 1. And now we're able to use our controller with our lights. So let's go through all of the faders now. So we have fader 1, which acts as the master dimmer or how bright we want to have our lights. So for today, let's set that all the way up. Then if we move on to fader 2, this controls the red LEDs, so the more I raise that, the more red will come through. Next we have fader 3 to control the green LEDs, fader 4 to control the blue LEDs, fader 5 to control the white LEDs, fader 6 to control the yellow or amber LEDs, and fader 7 to control the ultraviolet LEDs. So what's really cool is that we can use faders 2 through 7 to make a custom color. So I can raise a little bit of red, a little bit of green, a lot of blue, and a little bit of each of the other colors. And now we have our very own custom color. Now any custom color or single color works with our next fader here, which is the strobe mode. So if I start to raise this fader, you'll see the lights start to strobe, and the higher I have this fader, the faster the strobe. Now on my controller, I have to go to the second page here to control faders 9 and 10, so be aware of that in case your controller is the same way. Now fader 9 is really cool because it can activate the different modes available on the light depending on where we leave our fader or what the fader's value is set to. And to find out what value your fader is set to, you can just look at the display over here on your controller. So with the fader all the way down, the value is set to 0, and we can go all the way up on our fader for the max value of 255. So again, different range of values activate a certain mode for your light. So for example, I can raise my fader anywhere from 51 to 100, and this will activate the color change mode. So if you wanted to set your light to a specific mode, you can always refer to the DMX guide included with the light. So with any of these modes, we can use fader 10 to control the speed. So the lower I have fader 10, the slower the colors will cycle. And now if I raise it, the faster the colors will cycle. Now what's also really cool is that if you have a wireless DMX controller like this one here, you can also get these DMX-WRE wireless DMX receivers to plug into your lights to have a completely wireless setup. So the way that it works is if you have a wireless DMX controller, you can turn on the wireless feature here on the back, and then after you do that, you'll see this LED pop up to display the wireless DMX signal. So we have different DMX signals that we can use which are color coded, so we can press this button here to switch between the different colors. For today, let's set it to blue. Now this is really important because we need this signal or color to match with our receivers in order to make the wireless connection. So to do that on my receivers, I'm first going to turn them on using the power buttons here. And if you can't access it with your finger, you can always use a small item like a screwdriver to press it. And now to switch the DMX signal on my receiver, I'm going to use my screwdriver here to press this button on the side and cycle between the different colors. And again, I want to set it to blue so that it matches with my controller. So after I set the receivers and the controller to the same signal, you'll then notice that the lights on the receivers are flashing green and the light on the controller is flashing red, letting us know that they're all connected. So now I'm going to take my receivers and plug them into the DMX in ports on my light. And just like we did earlier, I can set my lights to the same DMX address and same DMX mode. Again, I'll want to activate scanner 1 on my controller. And as soon as I adjust the faders, you'll see that my lights are changing, letting us know that the wireless connection works. Now, if you wanted to add more lights to your setup, you can either get more receivers for each light, or you can just get one receiver for your first light and connect the rest of your lights with DMX cables using the DMX out and the DMX in ports. Another way we can control our lights without a DMX controller is by using the master slave function. So for the setup, we're first going to choose which light is our master light. So let's go with this one right here. I'm then going to take a DMX cable and plug the male end into the DMX out on my master light. Then I'm going to plug the other end into the DMX in on the next light. If you want to set up even more lights, you're just going to repeat this process all the way down your chain. So now from here, we can go to the back of our master light and set it to any mode or color, and then the lights on the rest of your chain are going to follow. We can also use the remote to change the master light to a different mode or color while the other lights follow. Now to make sure that our remote is going to work with our light, we can go to the IR mode here, and to use the remote, we're going to make sure that this mode is turned on. So if you're having trouble using a remote with the light, you can go to this mode and make sure that it's set to on instead of off. So let's go through all the different features on the remote. So we have the on and off buttons that we can use to turn the bulbs of the light on or off. But keep in mind, this doesn't turn the light off altogether. You're gonna have to do that with this switch on the back. We also have these up and down buttons here to either adjust the brightness of our light or to adjust the speed of the mode our light is set to. Below we have the base colors that we can set our light to between red, green, blue, white, yellow or amber, and ultraviolet. And then we have these number buttons here to set our light to custom colors. Then we have the different modes for the light that we can switch with our remote. So we have the auto mode, the strobe mode, the fade mode, or the sound mode. Like I mentioned, we can use the up and down buttons to adjust the speed of the auto, strobe, and fade mode. And because there are 4 different sound modes we can choose from, we can use these up and down buttons to switch between them. Now, because the light uses IR technology, you're gonna wanna make sure to point your remote directly at the light to change the color or mode. And you'll wanna keep this in mind, especially if you have multiple lights set up. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to use your Battery Power 61 Power Wash light. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.